Let's talk about planners. If you're anything like me, the new year is the time where you have incredibly high hopes to change everything as you know it, starting with the new planner, setting all the goals, coming up for the word of the year, all the things that are going on around us, and the things that we want to create this change that we feel we need to make. But we're 1 week in, and if all your excitement and all your planning has already begun to fizzle, your planner is not necessarily being used in the way you want it to. You're not ticking off your habit chart, all the things that you think that we're told to do, we hear others doing, is just kind of beginning to waver. I completely get it because the beginning of the new year is often when I've got my brand new planner. Um, I find a planner that I'm going to use. I get busy filling in all the different sections of the book. I think about the goals. I set my word of the year. And each time, by the time I get into January, into the end of January, sometimes to February, I start to drop off what I've been doing. I erase things, I change things, and I've just kind of get to the point where I'm beating myself up for not really doing what I had set out to do. So instead of forcing yourself back to your planner, I want you to start instead with 3 questions. So, question number 1, ask yourself, where are you in change? So, if you're a follower of this channel, you know that I do talk about change. I help people transition when they're going through transformational change and how they find themselves again after they've shaken their world up. Something has happened, a catalytic event. Either it was very positive, it was a surprise, or was you just growing out of your baby clothes. But things have changed. And you haven't yet found your footing of who this new person is after change. So, in the new year, when we start to begin to imagine what our year is going to be like and where we want to be, oftentimes we get this urge or this panicked feeling to make the changes right away. But change doesn't actually happen that way. And that's often why our planners never get finished. It's often why we give up on the goals that we've set and the things that we've tried to do, because we've forgotten that we are already in the change cycle. We're already in there somewhere with transformation. And the things that we are meant to be really focusing on in order to really complete that transformation depends on where you are in change. So if you're in square one of change, this is where it's the death and rebirth. So that's a time where it's a lot of internal work. It's not about external action, it's about grieving and disbelieving the stories that are no longer serving you. If you're in square two, this is where you're starting to dream and scheme about what's next. And it's where you're really allowing yourself to wildly create your dreams. Imagine whatever it is that is really pulling you. It's a time to dream big in your head. It's not a time to take big actions and moving forward in your life in reality. Then, when you're in square three, this is where you are really setting some goals about, what do I have to learn? What's new that I don't have that's going to be required to get me to the next step? It might be pulling out your courage, finding out what you need to really support yourself to do the hard things that you know you're doing. And then square four is where you're just kind of cruising and you're not doing a lot of changing of anything at that point. So in the new year, when we want to add in all these other little changes, we have to really be aware of where we are in the big transformational changes in our lives, because we don't have always unlimited focus and motivation when these big life things are what's going to take precedence over all of it. So, the big thing when you think about this question of where you are in change is to remember there's not a should here. You don't have to be somewhere. You want to be where you are now in changing And you want yourself to be given that bandwidth and that space to be able to make these changes that you're currently in. Question number 2 is, am I ready to change from growth, or is it self-attack? So a lot of times in the new year, we begin hearing about other people, what they're doing. We've seen it on YouTube channels, we've seen it on TikTok, we've seen people talk about how all they're going to do moving forward. And we get this urge to also make these massive changes. But a lot of times when we are being influenced by these external things around us, it becomes something that we are kind of attacking ourselves over instead of trying to fix what we think is wrong versus really wanting to become something that feels right for us. So being clear about where you're coming at this change that you're working on is coming from is important. We don't want to be attacking ourselves. That never actually leads to the change we want. We want to be embracing that we are growing and changing and moving towards this transformation that we are currently in. So there's something in your life that is your big transformation at the moment, and you want to be able to continue to allow yourself to become who you are moving into rather than thinking you need to be something other than who you are right now. Question number 3 is, are you choosing goals and things that you're adding into your planner, your habit tracker, all the things that you have added in there because, I go through my planner and I see the lists of what I should be doing. Are you choosing to do it based on a should and because you've bought the planner, or are you choosing based on your inner wisdom? It's easy to believe what other people are saying has worked for them, and you're watching the success that they're sharing with you. But it doesn't always mean that that's what's right for you. So, I want to give you an example in my own life. So, when I was moving from working from home to working in an office, I thought I needed to have this particular look. And obviously, my wardrobe from work at home wasn't quite what I thought it needed to be. So I spent time watching influencers, buying the clothes that I thought were right. And what I found out, of course, is that this wasn't how I actually was as a person directing in an office. So, I didn't trust myself. I wanted to be given the answer without really allowing myself to check in with myself. When I did do that, I was able to really connect to who I am as a person, what that means in the way I show up outwardly so that it matches my inward self. So that took some time, and I would rather have liked to have taken my time rather than spent all my money on changing my outfits because I thought I needed to look a certain way. So to close here, I want you to think about 3 things. So when you're moving forward in a new year or anytime really, there's 3 things that you want to check in with. I want you to trust where you are in change. I want you to trust your pace of that change and how you move through that way, um, and allowing yourself to do it in a way that works for you. And then also to trust your own voice about what's your next step. All right, so if you have any questions about New Year's and change and what might be keeping you stuck here, next week I'm going to be talking about some of the limiting beliefs that we have that come from this time of year in the changes that we're trying to create. All right, I look forward to talking to you again next week. Happy New Year, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.